What up? There we go. You didn't miss too much, Cheese. Where the fuck is music? There it is. You didn't miss too much. By the way, hi, welcome in everybody. Hope everybody's having a fantastic evening tonight. But yeah, you didn't miss too much. I mean, I'd say it's worth going back and maybe checking the Q&A portion out. But I mean, we're kind of gonna go over it here tonight. So, but it wasn't anything like combat reveal, or it was definitely a little bit of a downtick from what we had seen previously. So, nothing too crazy there. Let me see what I'm being pinged for. Okay. And I will say it started out with way too much snores. But is what it is, I guess. So, I do want to start us off. I did already see it today, but I wanted to watch this desert biome preview video again, and then kind of again there wasn't too much teeth in all of it, but I want to watch the desert biome part, and I want to go over the Q&A part again, because everything else in between was kind of stuff we already knew, just kind of put into context a little bit, which is nice. And I do appreciate the detail, but as far as like new content to review, there's not really much there. So it's more just kind of reiterating upon stuff that we've kind of already talked about. But obviously the big part of the reveal was the desert biome, which looks fantastic. And then they just kind of go into how they're able to iterate upon all of the different stuff, like with the tools that they have, both from UE5 side and from their own side. And Steven's giving the developers, like basically allowing them the freedom to kind of have these tools at their disposal to make the process easier. But I had kind of tuned out during part of the Q&A because I was tired as fuck today. I was able to get a nap in. But we'll watch this video. We'll check out the VOD portion of the Q&A portion of the VOD, and then just kind of see what people are saying about it. So, and then we can all talk about it and see what's up. So yeah, let's get started with this Q&A, or the desert biome preview here. By the way, if you're not a fan of the snores, close your eyes. Even though I literally put it on my main title. Or on the thumbnail, rather. The Snorse is this snail creature. It's a snail horse. It has been dubbed the Snorse. You'll see it. You've already seen a certain form of it, but you'll see it. The full form. Oh, the sound. What's up, Grump? Something there. Turn this down a hair. The distance detailing looks a little bit rough here. It could just be how it's being rendered out, but like this looks fucking amazing. I'm so glad they went with this type of feel for the desert. Rather than just like straight dunes. Like this is great. So one thing Steven did say, because the question was asked, who the fuck is this? I said it was Maggie. But that the emblem and the little crown there is important. So I might try to do some research on my side, like outside of stream, see if I can't dissect what that is. But he said it as if we might be able to derive something from that information. That symbol is on the scroll in the Twitter reveal. Okay. So I wonder. My thought is that this is one of the gods. Like this is kind of like the human form of one of the gods, or something like that, or the human embodiment of it, or whatever. And so it might be a symbol of the gods, but yeah, yeah, yeah. Dude, the way that tail split open, so fucking cool. Oh, missed it. All right, yeah, we'll leave it here. The way that that fucking tail splits open is really cool. They did a really good job with this animation on it. Really, really cool. So great reveal of the desert biome there. I thought that was, I mean, pretty good for what it was, right? Like again, it's a downbeat from kind of the previous months and what has been released in the monthly update. So it's hard to be like, oh my fucking god! Like it's awesome. Don't get me wrong. Don't take my lack of like extreme and utter hype to say that I don't like it. I do. It looks fucking amazing. It's just the hype waves coming. We're on, like I said, we're on the downtick. The last 3 months have been banger after banger after banger. And so this one, it was kind of interesting that there was a little bit of a downtick because I feel like there's a lot they need to show us in relation to combat, and so it is slightly interesting to me that they decided to put a downtick in there because I know Steven has a very good pulse on this stuff and doesn't do any of this stuff unintentionally. As far as like what's revealed, I mean, obviously with the exception of like some random stuff here or there, like we got on stream today with the Tolnar reveal or concept reveal. But I feel like a lot of these things are planned out in a very particular way, and so this downtick was intentional. And so it's interesting to me that it was, and it actually kind of leads me to believe a little bit of my kind of monthly adjusted sliding scale of when Alpha 2 is coming out. This live stream actually kind of gives me a little bit of a thought that it might be pushed back a little bit. I'm not saying like, a whole year or anything like that, but it definitely, they changed their tune with how they kind of talked about it in this one. And they actually addressed the question in chat that like they actually, because A2 when is like basically always asked in chat. They actually addressed it in this one, so maybe I'll try to find that in the Q&A as well if it wasn't brought up during the Q&A. But so let's head over. We'll go. Let me see if I can't find the start of the Q&A here. Should have done this before I went live, but question and answer. Question and answer. By the way, that's the Tolnar reveal concept. Basically, these are like the 3 primaries, and then your character will be like a combination of these 3 based on your own character selection. Several witnesses. Was he drunk? He was drunk. I just know it. I wonder if it's the same thought that I have in that I only hate it when it's standing up. The dragon boy on the right looks fucking dope. I think these are going to look a little bit more realistic. This is the very artsy, stylized first pass of it. I don't actually despise these. I have thoughts about if they should have shown these this early. TLDW, I think they might have shown these a little bit too early. I think these in particular, I think would have been better had it have been in-game render instead. But I also thought that with the Pyri, and those ended up looking great. And seeing that developmental change from like first pass to in game is good. My knee jerk reaction to this is a little soon, but they have shown time and time again that they'll show the first pass, then it'll be rendered out in game, and it'll look 1,000 times better. So, arguably, I don't hate the snores as much as I did when I first saw the artsy version of it. I still hate it, but I don't hate the regular snail. I hate the leg part of the snores. Need lizard snout. Yeah, something a little bit more elongated, right? Which I wonder, Wizzy, because it's going to be you can kind of tune and accommodate like between these three. The lion goat looking thing has a little bit of a snout on him. So I wonder if you take like the lizard dragon one and the lion goat one and you kind of meld them together, if you can give yourself a little bit of a snout. Yeah, the rest of the body is definitely going to be interesting. I think these two are going to be very. Well, first of all, I think all of them are going to be very humanoid, but like how they stand and walk and all of that stuff is going to be very interesting. Like, is this guy going to kind of slither around a little bit as he's walking? Like, is it going to do some weird shit? Like this, I feel like it's just going to be like an orc. This also maybe kind of like a human, but this one is like, what the fuck is this thing going to do? You get some. Be so okay, yeah. Because I'm already a Pyrite boy, like Guild War 2 character did it pretty right, except armor is male on them. It is very hard to get these like bestial things and have good armor on them. Legs bother you. Yeah. A snail trail around me. Yeah. I don't care what kind of a fucking alliance we have with Axiom or not. Like you're dead. You're dead in that situation. Hell no. Well, and that's something that I said earlier in Discord, Cheese, is like I was like, listen, I don't hate it so much that I don't want people to have it. Again, the leg thing really fucking bothers me. Like that's just it's just weird. The leg side of it is just weird. Um like I think people like it for the memes. Like the Snorse is the hipster of the mounts. People who like the Snorse are like, oh, I like I 90% of their love for the Snorse is actually coming from 100% of the hate that it receives. Snorse is the hipster mount. Baba, you're a hipster. But no, the Snorse should not go faster than other mounts. Like, I'm not super worried about total realism in video games, but that should absolutely not, like, no. Maybe it's more efficient. Maybe it can go longer distance. Like I don't know, because we don't know what the animal husbandry side of stuff is going to look like. Maybe it can carry a shit ton or something like that. But the Snorse to me cannot go fast. Did he mention that their stance would be different based on what you did with them? Yes. So depending on which of the three is more prevalent within your mixture that you create, will kind of determine how they walk around and do stuff. I'll see if I can find it again. It was very subtle. It was very quick. All right, let's keep trying to find Q&A here. Did I go too fast? This is just not like me because I'm streaming right now.
A pretty unique approach when it comes to character customization, because
this might be it.
With that background, there comes different species influence
Yep, this is
in the
it.
race itself. And
That's
we want
hilarious.
players to be able to dial up or down those influences as they see fit between the, the humanoid, the simian or mammalian, and the reptilian influences. And as you dial those things up, your base body, if it exceeds a certain percentage threshold, will assume the form and stance of one of three primary types of influences that
Form and
exist for the
stance.
Tolnar.
Did you catch that, Baba?
Now, what you're going to see is those three distinct influences. And you can be, of course, 100% in one if you wish, and you'll be very similar.
So, like, is my dude gonna walk with a dragon limp? Um, no. So in the character, from what we understand, in the character customization for Tolnar, you are basically going to be able to apply these different customizations. Each of those customizations is going to compile into like a back end data. And if enough selections of the goat lion are made, then your character will get goat lion aspects to them. But if it gets more of the dragon lizard side of it, then it'll act and operate and look a little bit more like a dragon lizard. That's how I understand it. And so you're going to have like you're going to have like three races essentially of character customization that as you are applying your customizations, again, this is just how I understand it, but as you're applying your customizations, that it will then at the different at certain thresholds, if you have enough of a particular type, then it will kind of take that form essentially. So there's going to be, as far as character customization goes, within the beast side of a player character, Tolnar is going to be fucking the way to go if you like that type of bestial kind of character, right? Because you're going to have so much fucking customization with that. Because the rest of them are much more humanoid. Well, okay, humanoid's not the right word because they're all kind of humanoid. But I guess traditional human, right? The elves are still very traditional human. The orcs even look very traditional human. So you're going to have a ton of customization to probably get a lot of different outcomes with Tolnar, which in and of itself is really cool. Like, I would consider a Tolnar tank something, because I always like my characters to be kind of like in my head. Like, I hate having like a small tiny tank or something like that. Like a gnome tank is just fucking stupid in my head. And so I would probably do something like Renkai, but then like, Ranger, or literally anything else is probably more on like the human side. So more like Kalar or something like that. What they do with females as their beast race is also very interesting. Are they going for realistic or animal plus boobs? Honestly, that's a good question. Because, well, but you have to be careful, because if you go too realistic, is it animal plus like 6 teats? You know what I mean? Like how realistic to the beast versus how realistic to the human side? Like, where is that balance? And it would be, I'll put it this way, it would not surprise me if, let's see, do they have the picture here? If this had furry tits, it would not surprise me. Do I want that? No, but it would not surprise me. Because, like, we need to see the rest of the body, right? Like, we need to know, like, is he this hairy everywhere, or is it like this head on like a human body? And so it kind of depends on how they go about this. Because if he's hairy everywhere, like that, this is the furry class. This is what every single furry is going to go. And then at that point, I would not make this my class. Like this, I like this, and I like this. But if this becomes the furry class, no, no, I'm not rolling this. No matter how cool individual aspects of it I think could look. Nope, not going to be associated. Did it right as well. Female characters are slimmer, and it works right. Yeah, and I think that they could honestly like really really do that. I want to see how furry Dragon Boy would look with a bow too, because it looks ridiculous. I wouldn't want to play it, to be honest. Yeah, no, and I think that that's something that's. I mean, again, like for me, when it comes to tanking, I want a big character model for a tank, and in the terms of Ashes of Creation, that's Renkai. Whatever, this side of Tolnar here, like this to me, like I look at the races in video games, and I kind of go, okay, this is a shaman or a warlock or a mage, like some kind of magic dealer. This is a warrior, maybe a hunter or ranger, like, but like rogue doesn't. I mean, I maybe rogue for this a little bit if you can make the character model pretty small, but like, and then like both of these are like tank, and so when I look at it, when I look at the different races in game, it's in my head, I have like an associated class with it. And so human covers all of it. And then these kind of more like the elf like or full creature like this one, or for full beast like this one, like these ones fit into kind of little boxes in my head a little bit of what I prefer certain classes to look like, just like for characters that I play. Boring. Imagine failing to get your question answered. Oh yeah, actually, honestly, biggest news of the live stream. Gola didn't get his monthly question answered. Bruh. What the hell? Gola, you let me down, man. I was so excited. I get the boxes, but also fun to break the norm. No, absolutely. And like it's not that I have a disdain for it when other people do it. It's for me and how I want to play my characters. So for example, how Grumpy just said human only. Like to me, tanks are only like big beefy characters. Rangers are usually more on like the elven/human side for me. Like unless there is a specific reason to run a race with an associated class, like WoW, for example. Pretty cringe. I've dishonored you all. Dishonor on your cow. So it's not like I look at it and I go, "Oh, that looks bad." Like you shouldn't do that because you're a hunter or anything like that. It's my own like just the way that I envision the character in my head and what they would look like, and then kind of fitting that into one of the races that's available. But like in WoW, for example, if you were like a beast mastery hunter, you would go orc because then your pets do more damage. You get berserk. Like so, without stuff like that, it very much is in. It goes by my own internal like vision of what it would look like, my own internal fantasy of what it would look like. Um, if the game doesn't have a numbers reason as to why I should be running one thing over another. Add Gola to our kill on sight list for this. Not everyone is perfect. True. Great sadness. Great sadness. All right, let's
Similar
keep
to
going
what
with
you're
this
going
here.
to see.
Try to get to the Q&A.
You'll be very similar to what you're.
I know they kind of jumped around at the end here for the studio update as well. I probably shouldn't be. I'm just going to let it run from where it's at.
Oh my God, there they are.
Oh, no, this is too early.
They have arrived. Studios recruiters, and they
I'm
are
just gonna let
asking
it
for
run here.
information that Intrepid Studios would never
Basically
ask
just
for as part of the job
talking about
application
there's some
process. So I
scam
want to make
stuff
sure
going
that
on
those of you
right
who are out
now.
there who are looking for
People
jobs,
are
not
reaching
just,
out
within
to
this industry, but any industry, always be cognizant of the information that you
potential
share with others.
employees and saying that
Because
they're
it should never
Intrepid
be
Studio
appropriate
and they
that
want to hire them
you pay a
and
fee
like
or you're
getting their
requested
information
to
from
pay
them and
for
whatnot.
equipment, or provide social security numbers or identification
So he's
or
basically
copies
just
of
saying,
passport in
that's
order
not
to
us.
apply for a job. And one other thing that's very unique to our
That actually a
studio,
handful of people
I
have
think, is that
actually
no one ever
been
gets
got
an
by it,
offer from Intrepid
which
Studios
honestly kind of
unless you've
blows
had
my mind.
either a video chat or an in-person interview with myself. So these people have been pretending to do actual interviews as well.
Full on in interviews, which
that is crazy.
madness.
Like they're going next
It
level
is
here.
crazy.
Yeah, so help us spread that word. It breaks my heart when I see, we've had a few
My heart,
dozen people who've been
it
affected
hurts.
by this. We did put out that announcement on our Twitter. We are updating our intrepidstudios.com website to reflect some also that PSA, and it is a part of our knowledge base article.
Yeah, we put it on our knowledge base article. It's up on Twitter, pinned on our support. We retweeted it. We have it pinned on our LinkedIn, and it is on our Intrepid site, but we're having a little problem with the hyperlinks that the web team is fixing. But it is on there and links to it. So
and I am going to say, I'll just take this very brief opportunity to say something. If you are one of the people who perpetrates this, whether for our industry or any other industry, or you're part of anything along those lines, just try to remember we all have families, we all have moms, we all have children or brothers or whatever, and now is a very difficult.
Look at me, guys. I'm part of the stream.
There's other stuff you can be doing with your life than this. So let's think about that.
be more productive.
Okay, that is the studio update.
Yes. All right, we'll get back to the other questions.
Robot
here.
said we all have toes, including Tonar.
Well, some people
He
don't
said
have
Tonar.
toes, so.
Now they're going to be called Tonar.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
That's the new meme.
Just kidding.
I was joking. I was like, we just show him a toe or something, Tease, give him a tease.
It's so funny, Maggie.
Next up, we have a question from Zyvan and Magic Man about combat abilities. Considering the recent update we've seen to combat, has the team decided on if there will be a global cooldown or not?
That's a very good question. It was a hot topic several months ago.
Yeah, I remember
as
that
we've
one.
been refactoring. Yes, I think that we've kind of gone back and forth with this. It's something that we're going to be testing as part of Alpha 2 and combat in general, is how we surface these global cooldowns, and whether or not we categorize these GCDs across essentially different types of abilities.
Yeah.
So I would look forward to more of our.
So that when I first heard that question, great fucking question, because it's been some time since it's been brought up. Now, there's nuance to it, but as a general statement, I would say that action combat abilities should probably not have a GCD, but tap target should. General statement, obviously going in and kind of, nitpicking little stuff here and there, but as a general statement, and again, this is just coming from like my own experience with action combat and tap target and all that stuff. And to be clear, even with some tap target stuff, I think that certain things should be off GCD because that allows for a lot of big brain gameplay. One of the biggest mistakes WoW has made in terms of in-game combat is basically removing the out-of-cycle GCD to where everything is on the same GCD cycle. That is so annoying. And I don't think it's technically everything. I think there's still a couple like tank cooldowns and whatnot that are kind of insta-pop. But that is beyond fucking annoying. I hate being GCD locked across the board. Let me create some pretty crazy rotations and be able to do some pretty big brain stuff by having some things not on the GCD. They went back on certain cooldowns that are off GCD and WoW. So they reverted that change? Is that what you're saying, Vladis? And welcome in, by the way, buddy. But yeah, to me, just based off of what I've experienced with action, which isn't a lot, and what I've experienced with tab, which is a lot, that action should be more animation based, because I don't like the idea of animation canceling. And so if I click an action ability, it needs to do that ability, which is essentially a GCD, right? So maybe I'm just of the stance of there should be GCDs. It's just a matter of how it's implemented. Is it implemented based on you're waiting for an animation to finish, or is it implemented based on you're waiting for 1.5 seconds to go by? They took spells off the global cooldown, so it's more flexible. Okay, yeah, no, that's probably good. So that, I mean, is that currently in WoW? Or is that what's coming in Dragonflight? Yeah, I do not want animation canceling. I get... Okay, currently. Okay. Interesting. So is that something that they put in... Was that there at the beginning of Shadowlands? Because I rated in the beginning of Shadowlands, and I thought they didn't do the GCD change from BFA into Shadowlands. Because BFA is where they really fuck GCDs. But I thought that nothing had changed going into Shadowlands. And so... But I could be wrong. Fuck, I haven't thought about WoW in a while. Okay, so it wasn't right at the beginning. Animation canceling should be a thing to avoid bad, but it should cancel the skill too. So I think I would rather the tuning. So I will agree on the side if it is a channeled ability that you can move. That you can move and it will cancel. Hold on. I'm gonna explain it. If you are channeling an ability, let's say you're fucking Kamehameha Beam as the mage. If I move, it should cancel that ability. If I am able to move my character while performing a swinging action with a sword, you're not getting animated lock. You're not locking in animation. What I don't want is while somebody is moving around and swinging their sword, that they can cancel mid-swing because maybe that swing gives you a buff and all you're doing is swinging that for the sake of the buff that it gives your next ability. So you cancel that by clicking another skill and then you do a big heavy skill, because people will come up with shit like that. Like, well, I can't say because it's NDA, but in a game that I'm testing right now, not this one, in a game that I'm testing right now, you can animation cancel gathering, and you can gather faster. I've already reported it. I've said this, like I said it was bad. You shouldn't have that because it is going against the intended purpose of the action that is taking place. So if I'm doing that with gathering, you best damn bet I'm going to do it with combat in a completely different game. So there's what you're talking about is more akin to root motion. I don't like to be rooted in place. Animation canceling is more like I described. You're swinging a sword, and if the initial button, when you push the button, that gives you a buff. And let's say that buff then increases the damage of your next ability used. What people will do in that situation, if there's animation canceling, is they will hit that button, then immediately hit another button because they have the buff to avoid the animation of that, and then just use the next ability. ESO really regrets having animation canceling. Now they can't get rid of it. Yeah, so I agree on the side of the root side. I don't like being rooted into abilities, which is the feedback that I gave in Alpha 1, which is the feedback that a ton of people gave in Alpha 1, that they would rather have the split body part where your combat animation is essentially the waist up and then your movement is waist down. And so you can continue to move around while you're swinging your sword and doing stuff. I don't want to be locked in as I'm doing something, unless it's kind of like a really, really heavy kind of maybe ultimate ability or special ability or something like that. Or a channeled ability, which is why I said channeling should absolutely be able to be broken. I don't want to be stuck standing in bad because I'm waiting for a 5-second channel to finish. I should be able to break the channel. Does that make sense? I feel like I kind of explained it the best that I could, but you understand kind of the difference, at least in my head, between locking and okay, cool, awesome.
Combat demonstrations in Alpha 2 to understand, what approach.
So yeah, anyways, GCDs. You don't make sense. Well, I'm never going to make sense to you, Izzy. Sorry, Mom. Ever.
Approaches we're going to take, and then offering feedback as part of those approaches from our testers is going to be very important in that decision.
All right. And our next question is regarding animal husbandry from Ultra Red, and they want to know, will there be a cap on how many times an animal can be bred in animal husbandry?
Yes, there will be a cap, absolutely. That cap is going to be defined by both the type of animal, the quality of that animal, and for what purposes it's being used in the animal husbandry system.
And then we have Unknown One who wants to know about naval content. Will we be able to fly flags on ships such as coats of arms, indicating association to guilds, nodes, or other groups such as pirates?
That is a very interesting question.
No, they don't know if they want GCDs or not. It's going to be, I mean, like you said, it's going to be a testing thing. If I had to guess, I would say that action combat abilities, because again, the way that it's working in Ashes is, let's say you have a list of 20 different abilities that you can take. You could make 75% of your abilities action with 25% of them being tab, or vice versa, or any other disparity of percentages, like 50-50, 40-60, whatever, but it can't go higher than 75%, supposedly. However they're going to go about that, I don't know, but those are the numbers that we've been given, and that's old information, but that's the number, that's what we know right now. Based on that, I would say that they'll probably lean towards action combat not having GCD, and more that you just have to finish the animation. Again, hopefully no animation canceling. And tab target will have a little bit more, will have a GCD tied to it, with the exception of some abilities. So there's a lot of little kind of, again, that's a general statement. Will there be action abilities that have a GCD? Maybe. Will there be tab abilities that don't have a GCD? Maybe, probably. But just as a general statement, that's kind of where I personally lean on that, and where I would see that coming if they're okay with it being present in one location and not in another. Yeah, I did see your comment, by the way, Vladis, and on YouTube. I just saw you start typing in Twitch as well. So I was responding to you there. So I think it'll be more ability determinant rather than action or tab determinant. But I think that action or tab will play a role in where they kind of baseline.
We actually are not likely going to have it be a flag-based system, but I believe there will be within our sales the opportunity to
all the cool kids are on
utilize
YouTube.
Unique emblems and custom
No,
images potentially.
anywhere anybody's
players
hanging
to
out, I
designate,
appreciate.
as well as potentially
Heyo! Holy smokes, Vertec, Chibi. You guys had a bunch of people in there tonight. Welcome in, everybody, from the Golden Feather. I'm Captain Redbeard here on Twitch/YouTube. Just kind of going over the live stream here and giving my thoughts and reaction to it, and we're gonna go into the forums and see what everybody has going on. Hey, follower goal met 325. Thank you so much for the follow, Bouchy. Appreciate the follow, man. Welcome in, first time viewers. I'm Captain Redbeard. $5 for the person who can guess why. Rise of the Furries. 1 to 10, what do you rate it? On its own, I would say 7. In comparison to what we have seen in the last 3 months, I would say like a 4 or a 5. So, yeah. It was definitely a downtick in what we have been seeing over the last 3 months. It was a good reveal. The desert biome was awesome to see. It was really cool. Hey, Alexia, thank you for the bits. Welcome in, everybody. It was a great reveal, but it just felt a little underwhelming, just what we're coming off of, right? We're kind of coming off of that high a little bit. So, hype train coming in. Oh, gotta hydrate. By the way, that hydrate's not just for me. That's all of you guys as well. What does this button do? Hey, Wizzy, thank you so much for the sub. Welcome back into the Bearded Bastards again. Make sure you use your grumpy chicken emote. So yeah, I think it was good on its own, but in the context of what we've seen so far, it was slightly underwhelming, but I don't want to take away from it. It's just in comparison, it wasn't as great as the other 3. I think it was good. They're at a point that if there is no in-game footage, it can't be over 8. Yeah. Basically, I mean, there's so much like information that we still need to know to really sink our teeth into, that unless we're getting like detailed information about artisan classes, class toolkit or class weapon kits, or ability kits, specifics about weapons, combat, like unless we're like really getting into like in-game systems, it's really not going to breach past 8 or 9 for me. Or sorry, it's not going to breach past like 7 for me, even on its own. Alexia, thank you for the sub. Welcome, Bearded Bastards. Use that chicken emote, grumpy chicken, or the beard emote, whichever one you want. Was happy with the stream today. Welcome in there. Yep, I saw you in stream chat today. Yeah, I'm happy with it. Absolutely. Baba Yaga with the beard. T-Elf, 100 bits. Thank you so much, T-Elf. I appreciate you being here. Hype train incoming! All right, let's keep it going here. We're just kind of going over the Q&A portion here a little bit, and then we're going to kind of see what the community's saying, and see how many people I call an idiot today. Did it get muted? Oh,
and
yeah,
then
there it
Nick
goes.
would like to know about combat corruption. We know that party, raid, guild, ally mates can't flag against each other. But what about if one of them is a PKer? In other
this
words,
was interesting.
Can your guildmate help you remove corruption by killing you?
Good
You're like,
question.
can I exploit this?
Can I exploit this?
That's a very good question. We've also gone back and forth on that in the past as well. As it stands currently, yes, the affiliation between guilds or citizenships is trumped by the status condition of your corruption, and anybody can kill a corrupt player. But again, that's something that we're going to be testing as part of Alpha 2 as well. There are some different approaches that we can think about for that system, and how it interfaces with our affiliation system. But it's important to note that, even if you are capable of, let's say, killing your friends, we have very unique systems in place with regards to the bounty hunter systems that locate individuals where they are on the
I appreciate
map.
it, Golden
And
Feather.
there is always going to
Again,
be that.
thank you guys so much for raiding over. I hope you guys had a great show. I'm definitely going to watch that VOD. I wanna see what Reeves has got to say on stuff. So I've been enjoying his content recently. So if you guys, I mean, obviously you guys are, rated over from here, but if anybody is in here and does not follow the Golden Feather, make sure you follow the Golden Feather. Every Friday they do a live stream. Great content over there. So make sure you guys go and follow them. Check out Twitter, all their stuff. I love going over there and catching them when I can.
That tense, that anxiety, even as you're facilitating the kill.
Hey,
from,
we got
from
Vertex
other
tonight. Let's
players,
go.
that someone can drop in on you and
I don't
pick
have
up the
shoutouts
items you
enabled.
may drop or kill you themselves.
All right. And then our next question here is from Lineker asking about Alpha 2, primarily because I think a lot of content creators have been talking about this. Will Alpha 2 be feature complete before betas or launch? Primarily because I think a lot of content creators
before beta,
have been...
yes, the game will be feature complete before beta. That is something that is necessary. Beta really.
Hoopo! What's up, kitty cat? Welcome in, Fupo. Were you excited by all the sand shown on stream? Basically kitty litter. Yeah, that was probably the best stream for Fupo. He finally knows where all of his cats are going to go to the bathroom in game.
Really is intended to identify last minute bugs.
So the question before that, I just want to go over it real quick. They were talking about, like, if I'm a corrupted player, because anybody can attack a corrupted player, even like a guildie or anything like that. Can I essentially get rid of all of the shit from my inventory and have a friend attack me to reduce my corruption? The answer was yes. This is something that AoC Twitter gave me a hard time about. I think I saw it. The world is my litter box. So it is interesting, and especially with how Stephen phrased it here, and basically saying, yes, that's kind of intended. But I think something that the community might not realize with that is that there's still XP debt. There's still durability loss, which granted you can just remove all of your stuff to kind of avoid that. So, but depending on what the XP loss looks like, oh yeah, yep, you would still get XP debt. Yep. Are there benefits for being corrupted? Kill your guild to get corrupted as well. So that's an interesting question. I don't think that because you can't, like, non-combatant to non-combatant, uncorrupted to uncorrupted, you cannot attack like alliance or guildies, to my understanding. Hey, Chibi, thank you so much for the gifted sub. Golden Rabbit Casino. What is the Golden Rabbit Casino? Well, congratulations. You have a gifted sub. Thank you. But from a general standpoint, being corrupted is not good. Being corrupted means that you have been doing bad stuff, and military nodes will have the bounty feature, the bounty hunter feature, and the bounty hunters will be able to see where corrupted players are on the map once they reach a certain threshold. No idea, but they sub now. Wonder if there will be achievements locked behind corruption. Based on what they're trying to do with corruption, I would say no. Because it is intended to be a negative consequence of bad action. It's not intended to be a separate style of gameplay. Does that make sense? Like, it's not supposed to be the difference between being, going down a religious path versus going down a artisan class. Like, it's not a different way to play the game from the development side. It's more of a consequence to shitty behavior. Kill your allies, their alt accounts. Yeah, now that, I mean, that could definitely be a way to game the system, right? If there's big rewards for bounty hunters to kill corrupted players, then there could be a little bit of a system gaming there. But the reality is I'm not necessarily expecting Intrepid to squash every single way something can be abused. More so making sure that not everything is so abused that that becomes common practice. So there's kind of a fine line there, but you want to make sure that it doesn't turn into common practice. If there would be an item you can buy to protect you from gear or experience loss if you are corrupted. Yeah, that would be a hard no. That would be a hard no. Again, just based on the fact that it is a negative system. It's not supposed to be a separate style of gameplay. You get, as far as we know right now, you get EXP loss on death, period, but you might get more if you're corrupted. You might get more experience loss if you're corrupted and die. And also, if you are corrupted enough, you could actually drop equipped items. Yeah, exactly, Nair. And it's going to be a lesson people are going to have to learn, right? Because I mean, day one, week one, you're going to have a lot of griefers. You're going to have a lot of people thinking that corruption is just kind of another way to play the game and not really understand that you are actually losing out on certain aspects of the game by being corrupted. So consensual combat is where it's at. There will be plenty of PvP in the game. There will be plenty of people who want to fight. The corruption system is there to help essentially ganking and bad actors and different stuff like that. So normal people may get corrupted once in a while. Say someone is gathering stuff and you want, but won't fight back. If you want my stuff, you have to get rid of them. Yeah, and that's going to happen. And there's going to be people who are more willing to take small levels of corruption. And from like an end of let's say Grumpy he doesn't care about corruption at all. He's like, fuck it, I'm going to go 100% corruption. Whereas Wizzy might be like, I don't ever want to be corrupted at all. And so there's going to be, your kind of own personal acceptance level of corruption, but that's going to be an accepted risk that you take based on the negativity that comes with the corruption system. So it's still player choice. You can still choose to be an asshole, but basically what Steven is trying to do what Intrepid is trying to do with the corruption system is essentially make it to where it's kind of like, yes, you can commit murder, but it's against the law. You'll gain corruption for it. You'll go to jail. You'll gain that corruption. There'll be massive negatives tied to it. So it's not to de-incentivize PvP, consensual PvP. It's to de-incentivize assholery.
To kind of make sure that everything is
I know,
for
Wizzy.
launch.
I know.
And it's important that all features are complete by beta 1. Yes.
But we'll be making updates to Alpha 2 while it's live to get to that point.
Alpha 2 will not be feature complete at the start of Alpha 2. There are going to be updates that are going to be incorporated as part of the Alpha 2 process. And there are going to be additional features that come online that get fleshed out between that time and beta 1. There's going to be regions of the maps that aren't going to be accessible, of course, during Alpha 2.
Wizzy is a Care Bear, just not when it comes to PvP.
An important distinction.
Yeah, and Alpha 2 is kind of like the start of our persistent world, where the servers will be up day and night until.
And the other thing is that
until we go to launch, but we'll have some downtimes in between.
Roughly 50% is what we know. So what we knew before the proposed map changes, and we don't know exactly what those map changes are going to be, except that we know there's going to be more water. We don't know if they're going to split up the continents, add a continent. We don't know exactly what they're going to do with that. But what was proposed early on is that we would basically have access to the Western continent and that we wouldn't see the Eastern continent until the game actually released. So as far as I know, that is what is still intended, that we're only seeing half of the map. But there has been a lot of community feedback and concern saying that might not be best, because what if there's something wrong over there that could have been avoided through testing? So I think it just kind of depends on how confident they are in their ability to get half of the world tested and implement those changes across the entire map. And I mean, that's just an internal decision. They know what they're will be capable of doing when that decision comes to be, but there is definitely some concern from the community that they're not going to have, by not having half of the map tested, that half of the map might have a lot of issues with it. So we might not ever actually know that the answer to that question, because they may say 50% and that's the intent, but maybe 6 months before the game comes out, they do a quick test on the entire map or something like that. So I don't know. But as far as we know right now, 50% is the intent. It won't simulate a real day one rush to established nodes. Right. And that's part of the concern, right? Is that what they've tested out won't be a true representation of what 100% of the map would look like. You're cutting out 50% of the resources, you're cutting out 50% of the playable nodes, you're cutting out 50% of the playable dungeons, playable world bosses, all of that different stuff. So there's a lot of legitimate concern around it, and it falls on them to, if they can decide whether or not that 50% is enough to cover the other 50%. So it'll be interesting.
For
Of
patches and
course.
stuff, right?
Yeah, and the other thing that's important to note is that Alpha 2 will remain
Yeah.
even post-launch as our public test server. And that's an important thing to note as well.
Just wanted to clear things up on that front.
So what they kind of went over there was just kind of like, what is the kind of intent of each of the different type of tests, right? Unfortunately, what we've seen in the gaming sphere when it comes to beta testing is it's more of a marketing beta than an actual beta test, or it's just like a server stress test. Alpha is essentially the last developmental testing cycle. Beta 1 and beta 2 is more for the polish. It's more like the game is essentially done. Then we'll have beta 1, and they'll go in, iron out, little details and stuff like that. Beta 2 probably be a little bit more on the stress test side of stuff. And, I'm with Steven being the marketing guy that he is, I'm sure there'll be a lot of marketing around beta 2. And those tests shouldn't run that long. So I know it's not necessarily intended to have resets, but I guarantee you if there is a bug that needs to be that the entire server needs to be reset, they will not hesitate in doing so. That comes from how Steven has talked about testing and what they have done in Alpha 1. I would actually even say that come launch, they would not hesitate to maybe not fully reset, but backdate certain servers, especially if there's like economical bugs and stuff like that. They definitely will take extreme measures if they have to. Obviously they don't want to, but the longevity, the long health of the game is more important than you crying about being reset, backtracked 12 hours. And I'm not saying you as in you in particular, but anybody in the community. Yeah, New World should have done reset. Honestly, New World, with the economy issues that they were having, they probably should have shut down servers and then open it back up once they had that fixed. Like, New World needed to go back into testing. That would have sucked, and it probably would have hurt numbers on launch, but their game also didn't last very long. So I would argue and say that their game might have lasted a little bit longer for the majority of players had those issues not existed. So basically, you don't want to have a game where, again, the norm is to exploit, to be an asshole, to do all of this stuff. And so sometimes you have to make the hard decision and shut shit down, or, backdate people, roll back, the server a day or whatever to avoid that from existing, because it can ruin the game in the long term. And I believe Steven has said that everything is on the table when it comes to correcting massive issues on a server.
Because there was some extra additional content or context. And then we have our next question from Schwan36, who wants to know about naval ships. Will larger ships, both frigates and galleons, have a minimum capacity requirement in order to be mobile?
In
This
order
was a
to be
good question.
mobile, no, you need a captain to drive the ship. In order to be effective, there is a scaling amount of additional personnel that are required.
Yeah, let's go add. I like that answer because that means that if you're, driving a giant, guild ship, galleon, or something like that, you'll be able to get it to where it needs to go. But for it to be effective, you need that kind of minimum crew there. They're great. So I think that's great. It would really suck to be like, hey guys, I need 12 people to come over here, just so I can drive this thing from point A to point B and not doing any content in between. Now, if there's content in between, then absolutely, if you intend to do that content. But yeah, no. Good question, and I really like the answer to that one. It's trying to get off the cereal addiction.
Or class in order to be most effective. And that scales, of course, based on the size of the ship.
Yes, and we don't have an Alpha 2 day yet. When we are ready, we will.
Okay,
let
they
you
did
know,
address it
but
in here.
we have
I
some
see
work
all the
we're still
alpha.
working
Yeah,
on.
I see all the Alpha 2 wins. Trust us. When we are ready to tell you, we will tell you. We made a commitment several years ago, not to mention.
First of all, when somebody says trust us, I instantly in my head I go, okay, I don't trust you. That's just I know what he means there, and the messaging there has been consistent. Just when somebody says that, like, trust me, it's like, I don't know if I do.
Mention dates until we are as close to certain as we can be with those dates actually being hit. And we want to make it that way. Also, we don't want to be rushed in this process. We are a quality first game studio,
Trust.
not a dates first game studio. And what that means is we will take the time that's necessary to ensure the product is ready for those release cadences. And Alpha 2 is a big one. And we need to make sure that Alpha 2 hits all the marks we want it to hit, both from an internal testing perspective, but is also representative of the promises we've made to the community. And as a result of that, we are going to continue working on the product until we feel it is ready. And when we do, that's when you guys will hear it.
Especially since Alpha 2 is when basically we're up for you all to see our
time. Absolutely.
our game.
And so this conversation right here primarily is, I mean, I've always known this to be a thing, but to hear him still talking about it this way leads me to believe that before this live stream, my guess was somewhere around December to February was when we would actually be in Alpha 2. I might, in my head, that might be kind of being pushed back a little bit to maybe a year from now, summer of next year of 23. So I don't know, but like literally every monthly live stream, like if this is the sliding scale of when I think Alpha 2 is going to come out, the last 3 have been, here, how do I do this for you guys? Am I reversed here? Whatever. Has basically been pulling it sooner and sooner and sooner because they've been showing us a lot of really good stuff. But this conversation right here, I was kind of like, oh, okay, that might kind of push it back a little bit. So I feel like over the last 4 months, it's been like 3 steps forward, 1 step back. And not that that's like a bad thing. That's still a net positive of 2 steps forward, right? Like, I'm not thinking like December of next year. I don't think we're, a year and a half away from it or anything like that. Unless they get more information and that changes. But kind of that sliding scale took a step back a little bit for me after this one.
Game for a long time. So we just want to make sure we're fully ready, and it's going to be a great experience for you all.
Absolutely. This
Our
is a
next-
marathon, not a race.
Yeah. Our next question is from Fatal Syndicate asking about castle events. When it comes to castle nodes and castle sieges, are the weekly node events and or monthly castle sieges a guarantee? Or is it possibly that a castle siege / castle node event, I think they mean siege event, could have no challenger and therefore not take place at all?
So castle sieges are on a monthly schedule, and those sieges will
I literally
always
had
occur
cereal like
on
the other
monthly
night, Grumpy.
schedule. Events and node-based events,
And it was actually
those
Frosted
are
Flakes.
predicated upon certain world state conditions, right? Certain world conditions being met. So it's not always guaranteed that a node is going to suffer some type of event unless a predicate for that particular event or story arc is met within the world. But castle sieges are on a regular cycle.
Right.
So I don't think he actually answered the question there. The way that I understood the question was, if a castle siege happens and and nobody decides to attack that castle, what happens to the siege? And my knee-jerk reaction is that, well, then it's a very easy win for the defenders, right? So if that's the case, if there's no like NPC fill in or anything like that for sieges, then it just becomes a very easy win for the defenders. So to me, the answer to that question is yes. There could be, there is the potential to essentially have no attackers for a siege. But obviously I'm not developing the game, so that's up to them. But if it is a weekly cooldown thing tied to it, then yeah, if nobody attacks, then there aren't any attackers. But maybe I'm thinking of it too plainly.
And then our next question is from Worth asking about node leveling. When it comes to mayoral construction projects that players can bolster, how long would you say it will take players on average to fill / build up a node completely? So that's,
Ooh,
from
completely.
wilderness to metropolis.
Oh, so the question is node level advancement or
Yeah.
within the level building all the buildings at that level?
I mean,
height?
I'm sure people will want answers to both of those.
The
Stephen,
question
if you're
was about
willing
the
to
I just want to make
provide.
sure I'm giving the right answer. Okay, so we've already discussed it. And you guys, great resource to utilize is the Ashes of Creation wiki. You should go take a look at that for some of these questions because there's a lot of content there. Even if not all of it is still up to date, it is constantly kept up to date by Lex and his team. So
Yeah.
amazing job to them. Big a little shout out
Thank
to
you,
them.
Lex. Yes, go check out the wiki. It's amazing.
Yeah, so when we talk about what's the expected time range for node advancement, it ranges from hours from a crossroads perspective to several weeks.
So my question here, and I'll probably put it in for the next month's one. Maybe not. Maybe I'll let a little bit of time go by. But on the wiki, it says couple of hours, couple of days, or couple of hours, many hours, couple of days, many days, couple of weeks, many weeks, or some kind of verbiage like that. What I want to know is that based on level 0 or is that based on the previous node level? So for example, is it many weeks to go from 0 to Metropolis, or is it many weeks to go from city to Metropolis? Because if it's the latter, then it's actually many weeks, couple of weeks, many days, couple of days, many hours, couple of hours. And all of those added together is how long it would take you to get to Metropolis. But if it's talking about from a baseline of 0, then it is truly many weeks. You're thinking the latter. So you're saying so Baba, that's what I kind of think I would personally want it to be, but I just feel like it's not very clearly defined on the wiki. which isn't their fault. They're they're working off of the information that they have. But like some clarity on that. Like, are we talking at a baseline of 0, or are we talking at a baseline of what the previous one was? So I think some clarification on that would be nice.
Weeks from a city, excuse me.
Oh, wait, hold
city
on.
to metropolis perspective.
No, he just said it.
And the date, it is constantly kept up to date by Lex and his team. So
Yeah.
amazing job to them. Big, a little shout out
Thank
to
you,
them.
Lex. Yes, go check out the wiki. It's amazing.
Yeah, so when we talk about what's the expected time range for node advancement, you know, it ranges from hours from a crossroads perspective to several weeks from a city, excuse me, a city to metropolis perspective. And
Is it just me, or did he actually just answer that question there? It seems like he's saying that it would be based on that the amount of time that's required is based on the previous node level. Cool. All right. I like that direction. It adds a lot of time to the development of the world. I think that's great. Like, I was thinking initially that like a month to a month and a half to get a metropolis was too fast. Several weeks to go from city to metro. Yep, that's how I understand it. Cool.
the reason for
I
that
like
is,
that.
of course, you know, these are the dials in which the world advances. So we want it to be something that is both gradual, but also reflects the effort that players have to incorporate as part of
Yeah.
getting nodes to those next stages.
I must
when
have
we
tuned this
talk
part
about
out
what
earlier.
it takes to actually develop a node at a certain stage and the available progression points that node has access to, whether it's establishing embassies or relationships with the castles or reputation with other nodes so that alliances can form or trade agreements can be utilized and mayoral caravans can be kicked off, or building up certain types of player buildings so that new services can be unlocked, or developing the story arcs out so that there's hooks into the relevant POIs and dungeons nearby. You know, that is a big process. It's one thing to get a node to a certain level. It's another thing to develop the node. And I can't really give you an on average expectation because there's a lot of variables at play there. There's how many citizens does the node have attracted to it? What's the type of traffic that the node is attracting to it based on like things like its tax rates or the specialization that it's chose to spec into based on the building types it's chosen to build. All of those things are variables that can affect the average, quote unquote, average build out time of a particular node. So it's kind of difficult to give you an average when there's so many variables along those lines. But the idea is that if there is a particular project that players are interested in developing based on the node stage, that they would have the ability to complete several of those projects within a single term of a mayor. And a term of a mayor is 1 month. And that's an important heartbeat for the node's progression internally.
I like all that.
All right. Cool.
Hopefully that answered your question.
Good take, Stephen. Good take on your own game.
I think people will experience it in game, and obviously, as we go into alphas and betas, we'll be adjusting those timelines, you know, and making sure that we test them and getting a lot of feedback on that stuff as well. So things are subject to change too.
Unless there's some time gating to leveling, people will level it faster. So the node level is going to be, I was actually going to do a video on this. And then somebody else did a similar-ish video right as I was working on the script for mine. And so I've backburnered it for a little while now. But the node is going to time gate the player, and the players, plural, are going to time gate the node. So you as an individual will be time gated by the node. The node will be time gated by the player base as a whole. So there are a couple of levels of time gating that will be happening there. And it's needed, and it needs to feel natural, which is time gating is actually a good thing in MMORPGs if it's done right. It needs to feel natural. In a reactive world, it's very easy to do that. They can turn and twist their dials in the background and it not actually affect us. The type of time gating that's dog shit is you need 50 of these tokens, but you can only get 10 a week. That kind of time gating is horrible. So if it did, Nair, I would never want the community to know that. I would not want the community to know that. That would need to be state secret, Intrepid only information. I would not want people to know that. Ever. Because that will feel horrible. I would rather it be a crazy high number than to actually put a cap. Yeah, hidden. Hidden caps are fine. Just don't let us know. Because the moment we know, then people are going to be sitting there thinking, is my gameplay actually contributing to anything right now? And it de-incentivizes gameplay. That's not good. You can't even open a siege scroll until a metro has been established for 23 days. So I assume it would take like a month and a half to get from metro to a metro from a city. Great logic there, Wizzy. Absolutely. A node siege may not be declared for 21 days following a node advancement to any stage. Okay, that's a difference of 2 days, but yeah. I've always been curious with the specific. I would love for it to be crazy high. If you want a metro, you need a metro number of players grinding. Exactly. Like, and that's the thing is I think that if there's a lot of coordination happening, because let's say a certain percentage of the servers like, hey, let's level this up to a node because it would be really great. It unlocks this dungeon and unlocks this world boss, this rare crafting material, all of this different stuff. The server can come together, which is an event. It's a community ran event at that point. The server can come together and say, hey, let's level this node up so we can have access to this content. And the more people you have, the faster it can be done. That's player agency. What would feel horrible is if it is, oh, well, there's a daily cap, so we only need like 100 people to do like 5 quests each in this area, and then we just wait for the daily reset. And that just doesn't feel good. Like, let the people who are playing at 1 a.m. to 8 a.m. be contributing to the node just as much as the people who are playing during prime time. But again, just I increase the cap. If it goes too fast, or not the cap, sorry, increase the amount of experience that's needed. I would much rather it be a ridiculous amount of experience than limit to what people can do, because it's a nuance, but it feels bad. It feels bad as a player.
From classes, or from about classes, Sonic Explosions asking, if a martial DPS archetype takes a magical DPS secondary archetype, for example, a night spell, which is a rogue plus a mage, will it scale off of the physical stats, magical stats, or both when it comes to damage and abilities?
That is a very good question, and I want to reserve the answer for that when we do our deeper dive into combat.
Yeah, I was really disappointed you didn't answer that question. Nib, the soft cap is that the XP gain with lower mobs and lower nodes is less. Yeah, absolutely, right? And I think that's fine, because it kind of goes back to like the South Park episode of where, they level just killing boars in the starting zone, right? Like, allow that type of gameplay to exist. Because anytime it's just a hard cap, it doesn't feel good. I'm totally fine with the soft cap, and with the way that Ashes is creating a very reactive world, it'll feel like a natural soft cap. Again, like I said, time gating is needed in MMORPGs. It is a requirement in the game, or else the gamer will blow through the fucking content. Implementing that time gate in intelligent ways so it doesn't feel like you're being time gated. It just requires more effort. It doesn't require more weekly lockouts. It doesn't require more daily lockouts. It requires more effort. Maybe you have to optimize your gameplay, right? Like, oh, this is the optimum path to get the most experience in a short amount of time. That's great. You don't get stuff like that if it's just a cap. Instead, you get guides that say, do this thing for 30 minutes with 100 people, and then you're done. Go back to whatever you were doing before. And you kind of want to have that sense of exploration behind it as well. Never trust me, I'm evil. I thought we were friends.
Because that is a particular point of contact or particular point of information that's related to some future demonstrations we have regarding combat that I think is going to be important and people are going to be very interested in. So look forward to
great
when we do
question.
deeper dives into the combat, and
Yeah,
that'll be
we'll
coming
be showing
up over the
class
next few
kit
months.
stuff. Yeah,
Yes,
in
absolutely.
the next few months, which is exciting. And
I
then
missed that.
we have Craig.
I missed that before. So next few. Oh, okay. Next few. What's a few? Technically 3. So they did mention class kits there. So I wonder if that's the next combat thing that we'll see. My theory is that the next combat thing that we're going to see, what I actually thought this live stream was going to be, was VFX and sound. That there would be a lot of focus on that from the combat aspect. Basically anywhere between 2 to 6 months.
Again, who wants to know about inventory management? Will there be an in-game tool for keeping track of where you store your items? So for instance, like if I have items in my stash or in my freehold versus like in a bag or at a bank, like is there one place I can look and be like, search to find where I have the item so I know where to find it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that is just a user experience that we don't want to make cumbersome, right? We want you to know where the things are. And then the meaningful aspect of that thing is traveling to those locations to act.
Thank you, Intrepid. This is one of those things that when people want to relive the old glory nostalgia days of whatever godforsaken MMO that they played back in the day, this is one of those things that I feel like certain aspects or certain quality of life aspects to gaming have changed over the years. This is the one, or not the one, but this is one of the things that needs to stay in the past. Let me pull up a menu, see where everything is, but I still have to actually physically go and get it. Totally fine with that. But at least let me see what is over there. And there's another one that they say in here when it comes to crafting. He's about to say it here. That also is one of those quality of life things that is just better nowadays. It is just better. It doesn't take away from any other aspect of gameplay. Like, thank you. Like, this is something that absolutely needed to be in the game. And I'm glad that they're going this direction because this tells me that they want difficult things to be difficult, but they don't want to make things arbitrarily difficult, which is very important, especially with how many years MMORPGs have been out and all of the different quality of life stuff that has come out. This was something that 5 times my old man brain forgets every 2 minutes.
Access some of those things, particularly as it relates to materials.
What am I thanking you for?
And raw gatherables. That's the important thing. One thing that we are absolutely including is when you're within a node or an economic region, when you're within the node, you are at it. Let's say you go to a crafting station, you have access at that crafting station to pull from your personal storage and warehouse storage at the node. And you don't have to do the run back and forth constantly that all of us are accustomed to in games where, I wasn't talking to you, 4 petal leaves that I needed to make this, oil or something. I need to run back to the warehouse, grab the thing, run back to the workbench and start the thing. That is something that is I'll
only thank you in private.
Cumbers.
I love this part right here because the entire chat was typing QOL or quality of life as they were trying to sit there and think about what the phrase was. The chat knew what it was like immediately.
No, what is it?
Time constraint.
Agreed. TL. Thank
tedious
goodness for
it's
sure.
Tedious, but it's an ease of like
quality of life.
Right, fuck that
Thank
red-bearded
you. It
fuck.
is a
You forgot the
quality of
H.
life feature that I think is important.
Say words at him until you.
Yes,
it's the one.
much better. That's where I was going. My mind is, like I said, it's been a long week.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm not.
I love Steven's laugh. Oh, that's great. And there was a live stream. Oh man, it had to have been like a year or two ago. But there was a live stream where he was just laughing constantly, and it was just the Steven laugh like the whole way through. It was glorious. It was absolutely glorious.
I'm doubting that. And I think that on the inventory management side, just in general, we're going to have a lot of UI customization.
I've thought about
options
making
for
it
you
my
all,
follower
so
sound.
I know that
Yeah.
that is a
And-
question. We don't want to allow add-ons. So
User experience in UI a second ago, and part of that is really coming to life with what the
True,
UI team has
Baba.
been doing at the studio. And boy, is our UI team kicking butt.
so
I can't
good.
wait to show you guys what they have in store for you here with the new UI rollout. But you know, part of that is, of course, providing as much customization option as possible to the user. I know that bleeds a little bit into the add-on world, but I think it's you guys are going to be pleasantly surprised.
For me, creativity starts
Yes,
with what if.
add.
Like, what if there's fire?
Yeah, no, I think it's great. They're adding in the quality of life where it makes sense. And that's a good sign. Primarily for the reason that, I mean, A, it's already not going to be pay to win, pay to convenience based on what they've said. But by them implementing these quality of life systems, that's fucking bright. By them implementing these quality of life systems, that further supports the statement that they are not going to have pay to convenience. Because they're implementing those things that a lot of companies would put a paywall behind. You hope keybinds are a little more intuitive.
We're like talking about it in chat. There's a lot of new people joining us, so welcome, new folks.
Welcome.
Next up, we have Renoni Siponi, who wants to know about monster coins. During monster coin events, will the hate list for NPCs restrict or affect the buildings players can target and disable? This is a very specific
Will the
question.
hate
Have a good night,
list- I'm
Wizzy.
Sorry, say it one more time.
Everybody say goodnight, Wizzy. Grumpy's eating chicken. Chicken emote.
Will the hate
Have a good night, Wizzy. Thank you for coming in, hanging out. Appreciate you coming in, Mom. Bye.
lists for NPCs restrict or affect the buildings players can target and disable for monster coin events?
Interesting.
It's a very specific question that I'm uncertain.
So I'm not.
Yeah, that's the make good choices. No. I was about to say no, you're not my mom, but I constantly call you mom, so kind of are my mom now, but no, I'm not gonna make good choices. Yeah, never. I hope they intend to always develop their UI build out so that it grows to include all options people could want. I 100% agree with this. And what's so difficult about what I think they're trying to achieve with UI customization stuff is that they're trying to stay away from like open API and add-ons and stuff like that. So they have to implement it themselves in game. That's a big task. Like, if you look at WoW add-ons, like something like LVUI, like an all-include, like a full change of the UI. There's a lot of work that's put into something like that. But LVUI only has to do that thing. That's all they have to develop. So something like that on top of Ashes of Creation and all being done by Intrepid, that's a lot of work. And so I want all of the customization to be there, like literally all of the customization, but I am concerned at the time that it would take to do that. Now, I'm not a developer, I'm not a programmer, I don't know what kind of time goes into that, but just from a base understanding of time focused on one thing versus time focused on another, I would be concerned that if they try to make it too expansive, that it could be. I would rather. I guess what I'm saying is I kind of agree, Vertec. I want it to be a lot at launch, but it would be nice if it's iterated upon as people figure out what else they want. And that it's kind of a ever evolving system based on what the community is wanting out of it.
I'm not sure the correlation between the hate list of the NPCs and the objectives of the event. But it is important to note that when events occur, there are very prescribed and specific number of objectives that can be targeted, right? You aren't streamlined into one particular, you have an option in front of you to select from. But those aren't affected by any type of hate list that might be.
Oh, you heading out too, Nair? Have a good night.
NPCs. So when you're playing as a monster from the monster coin use as part of an NPC event that might be targeting a node or some other open world objective or POI or dungeon, you get to participate as a monster, and your focus is completing objectives that have already been prescribed as part of the event. And that's
so. For instance, like if you are part of a monster coin event that is attacking a node, and you're specifically to take down a specific building.
Yeah, like let's just workshop it. Let's say, for example, you have an event that is, the predicate for this event kicking off was that a raid boss was killed in a nearby dungeon, and it was killed for the 50th time, or it was killed by some particular storyline end, or whatever the predicate system is in the world state to say, hey, kick this event off. Well, when that event kicks off, a number of spawners activate around the node, and NPCs start moving towards a node. The node is notified, like, hey, there's something happening here. You guys should put up your defenses, focus on this thing. And those with monster coins who are within the area and are not a citizen of the node or an affiliated node can choose to activate their monster coin to become one of the monster types that exist within that event. And that event has a number of targets. And let's say for this particular story arc, the thing was, we need to find, artifacts and better weapons in order to defeat these bosses at the bottom of this dungeon. And a lot of players went through that process. They found those weapons and whatnot. Well, those things might be stored in 3 buildings that exist within the node. They might be stored within the armory. They might be stored within the barracks, and they might be stored at a workshop that has access to a workbench that they've chosen to build. And that could also potentially serve as a predicate. And when you become the monster, those are your 3 objectives. And you don't need to destroy all 3. You potentially just need to destroy 1, or you destroy as many as you can if it's a time selected event. And you might have targets that are NPC related as well, such as the blacksmith that's at the workbench, or the captain of the guard who's at the barracks, or whatever, who's at the armory, right? And you get to go in and you get to kill other players potentially during this who are helping to defend the city. And you can also make it to the objectives and potentially help in destroying the building or killing the NPCs. That is the type of objectives that would exist within a monster coin system for an event.
All right. So there will be some semblance of restriction to answer their question.
Yes, correct.
Depending on what the event is. Yeah.
Yes.
The next question is from Lashing, and they want to know about AI behavior. Will mobs be able to buff each other up when grouped up, like an NPC bard buffing its allies?
Oh yeah, absolutely. There are social AI systems.
They want to.
Yeah, it's important to note that our AI system that Russ and Chong have been working on is extremely versatile. And it also provides the capability of having a scoring system when it comes to the behaviors that the monster is going
I'm liking
to
it too. I've missed this one before.
And it can do some of those behaviors in parallel depending on how that scoring system comes out. And
this might have been when I got up to
between groups of AI
help,
or groups
Mini
of
Beard with
monsters
something.
is the ability to support other monster types or classes that might be a part of that social group, not just from a social aggro perspective, but from a social support perspective as well. That is an important component of the AI system. Absolutely.
Cool.
And our final question is regarding leveling up, and this is from Min0. With leveling set to take a while, will each level have a reward attached to it, such as learning an ability, a talent point, or perhaps class quests, etc.? Or will there be levels where you don't get something?
No, I think you're gonna get something.
Hey, what's up, brother?
There are going to be some levels that are more monumentous in your progression than other levels. But I don't like the drought between leveling process where you get nothing for a level. I think that's climactic. I think it is not indicative of a good reward system or a good progression system. I think you can emphasize some levels more than others, and that's a great way to do progression. But I think ultimately that you should see a reward for your progress or effort spent at a granular level, and that's something that's quantitative and compels you to continue progressing.
Yeah, of course. We want to keep you wanting to level up.
Yeah, I think that's important, and it actually kind of curious what you guys have to say about this. Now, understand that I'm going to use the reference, and I don't want it to be exactly the same. I'm only using it as a reference as something that is further, where you are further progressing your character besides just gear, even after you hit max level. So the example is Paragon in Diablo, or in PoE, how max level is technically one level, but then you can kind of continue to level. Same thing with like in Diablo 2. And not specifically Diablo 3's Paragon system. I think that's trash because that's just more stats. But something that you're continuing to like strive for even after you hit max level. I personally kind of like. Baba just says no thanks, no Paragon, nothing like that. Because so here's my counterpoint, Baba. It already exists within the game. It just takes the form of gear. I kind of like the idea of gaining more of something while you're leveling, even if it's just like a really reduced rate or something like that. Also, if you have experience debt, the internet where I'm at, it keeps dropping out of Twitch. Need to keep reloading. I think I'm gonna lurk until it drops again, then run away. all right, Vertec. I appreciate you coming in either way, man. So, and gear chase is completely different if I'm pushing levels to gain X stats or something. Yeah, so I don't like it being attached to stats. That's the part of Diablo 3's Paragon I don't like. How about a really strong ding? And maybe it is just fluff, but maybe it's like, maybe you're not actually gaining anything extra, but it kind of shows everybody around you like, oh, this guy's level 50 with a 30 next to it. Like, like he's been playing a long fucking time. But yeah, I don't like it being tied to stats because then, have a good night, Vertec. I appreciate you guys raiding over. Like the Taco Bell. Because then it turns into kind of meta chasing when it comes to levels. Like, oh, you need to be max level plus 10 to be in this group kind of a thing. And that doesn't feel good. But if they could kind of if they could go about it in a creative way to where we are continuing to gain something as we continue to progress past 50, I think that could be good. But I wouldn't be upset if it wasn't there. I mean, gear chase is obviously the main reason for progressing. Like the content in the game, the gear chase, like that's typically the main reason to continue to progress. Unless you find some other thing that you derive, enjoyment from within the game that has nothing to do with gear. Running a freehold, artisan build, like artisan crafting, all that different stuff. But primarily speaking, generally speaking, most people are going after gear. But I kind of like the never-ending grind aspect, which is why I think I like kind of the idea of Paragon a little bit. Again, not how it's iterated upon within Diablo 3, but just that kind of idea of a system. But it would have to be good, and it would have to be something to where it's not like becoming a requirement. So, and if that's not possible to do, then don't put it in. But I like the idea of it.
Yep.
That's kind of the end of this here.
Do you need anything?
Some water. Thank you. Let's see here. So, okay, this is the one that I wanted to go over tonight. So this is the player feedback request for on the forums, over on the Ashes forums, for the Tolnar concept art shown during the July live stream. Now, my personal feedback. I am concerned that this was shown too early, because these types of beast-like creatures being shown in a not fully rendered in-game form leaves a lot of questions, and and because it's the concept art, it looks very cartoony. So, and we kind of went over this a little bit at the beginning of the stream. So they're okay, but I hope they have a little bit more of a realistic feel to them and it fits the rest of the world. Now, I've had this concern with other stuff in the past, and they've done good with it when it comes to actually putting it in the game. Like from what it was in the concept art to what it is in the game, they've done a really good job with that. So I believe that they will do it, but there is a kind of a small concern about that. And so it might have just been a little early. So I hope we see the in-game render fairly soon. What did you like about the current art direction of this race? Is there anything you dislike? What are your thoughts on what was shown during the live stream? Are there any specific character creator customizations you would like to see? The race is so cool because it has limitless potential and some of the coolest lore woven into the game. People are going to really be able to bolster their gameplay with the Tonar. I can make a Leonin. This looks amazing. Yes, they are known as Tonar, unfortunately, really. Unfortunate, really. Yeah, I think they need to show the character creator showcase for this. Like, preferably sooner rather than later, in my opinion. Lucael. Looked amazing. No complaints or suggestions. Keep it up. I'm happy where the race is headed. They look exactly how I expect the personification of evolution to be. I hope they have lots of tattoos, scarification, and piercing options, both facial and body, available. All right, I kind of want to see what the negatives are here. Cat girls. Yeah, this is definitely going to be the furry thing. Yeah, I agree, Grumpy. I think they'll turn out good. No avian Tolnar, but it'd be awesome if we had at least some hair fur, maybe even feather options. It'd look a little bit feathery. So I think avian doesn't make that much sense because they've been underground. So them kind of resorting back to dragon snake-esque kind of a thing, like, makes more sense to me than them going into a flying side of something. It would look cool, but I don't know if it would necessarily fit. Don't think there are any dislikes. Okay. I want to see someone who's like, fuck this. I asked Kat to make me a forum signature that you would definitely enjoy to see. If when she pulls it off, you have to comment on it on the forums. All right, yeah, let me know when you have it up. Hey, TL, have a great night. Thank you for coming in. Say bye to TL. Bye, TL. Going by what we've seen already, I think they will be find lots of customization incoming. Yep, I agree. I will have Tolnar farmhands, no doubt. All right, Narer says, these are way more animalistic than I expected, but in a very positive way. I'm super excited to play around with Tolnar and the character creator and the morphine tool. That's what's going to be, I think, really, really cool about Tolnar. I do agree with that. Ton of options. That's a good question. Can we go more human and less animalistic? Because that would be cool. Fucking amazing. That's it. Like the direction. These are looking good. Looks amazing. All three of them. They look good so far, but what I'm wondering is it a must that they have to have horns, or is that just what these ones happen to look like? I have a feeling those are going to be customizable. I don't know if they're going to be removable, but actually did, oh yeah, they do all have horns. So maybe not removable, especially if all three of them have it. But maybe. I think that would be cool to allow those to not exist. Look amazing, looking good. Yeah, well, seems like everybody just likes it. So, just kind of hoping there would be. I kind of want to see what takes are of people who are like, yeah, no, pass. Hopefully they're not expensive. High elves too, yeah. Human and dwarf and high elf wives, but yes. What if human had a wild night, ran into a Tolnar, one thing led to another, and now he's paying child support for 3 kids he never gets to see and are half Tolnar and resents their dad because their mom tells them he's human. What the fuck? Mrs. Beard, I'm not going to play one personally. Godzilla looks kind of cool, though. Yeah. Yeah, I think I could see myself playing, like, depending on what other customization options are that there are for other races, but I think I could see myself playing the left or the middle version as a tank, probably more so on the left side as a tank. Though I like the kind of lizard dragon thing going on here, just as like a personal flavor that I enjoy. I don't know if I would actually play any of like my associated classes that I would have with it in my head. I'm just saying it could happen. All right, what's the other one here? Desert biome. Concept art. I mean, I feel like these are just good. Like, these just look good for Empyrean. Very well done for a high elf kind of fantasy. They get my valuable stamp of approval. Nara agrees. Perhaps some jewelry that glows when orcs are nearby. Different universe. The desert was cool. Definitely got some Phoenix vibes with all the cacti and rock formations. Yeah, it was definitely more akin to like a Arizona or like Texas desert as opposed to like the Mojave, right? Like which I enjoy. Like I don't want just constant sand rolling hills in the desert. And it looked like there were some, but it's really cool when it's a little bit more Utah, Arizona-esque. And then the Renkai, which there was some feedback in the Suspect Discord on this one. I know Gruntag has been really excited about the Renkai. And it is still concept art. But they definitely, and I agree with Gruntag when he said that they kind of look a little bit softer, and so making them a little bit meaner. A little bit more rugged could be cool. But they are also like a Japanese-esque type, samurai background to them. So maybe it makes sense, but they definitely look more human than orc in this, besides the green, obviously. But very animalish. I feel like they look a little bit more human, at least compared to other iterations. I'm getting Uncle Iroh and Azula vibes. I see that. I see it. Have more muscular meat. I agree, Lucael. Relative to the elves. More pronounced. Yeah, make them look a little bit meaner. They don't all have to look pretty. Or at least allow the customization to go that direction. The nose could be a bit less recessed. The tattoos, colors, those hair pieces look awesome. Yeah, I mean, I think overall good direction, especially from the concept side. So I think it's moving in a good direction for sure. Did not expect the orcs to be pretty. Yeah, again, I think they're a wait and see kind of a thing. See how we can customize them in the creator. Yeah. Yep. Or at least see them in game, right? To kind of get a general idea of what like kind of the I say final render. Obviously, they're going to iterate upon stuff throughout testing, but a more final of a render once it's in game. Probably won't vary too much once it's actually rendered out for the game itself. Huh. Did a quick mod of the Renkai image, so they went in and changed the coloring. Interesting. I think I like that a lot better. I'm glad they did that. Like the new facial structure. I'm in between here. Never been an orc player, but from before and now, after I'd lean to more features from older shown, meatier, beefier features. This looks a lot more polished, very soft features and lines. I'd go a bit more less pronounced, such as the new elves. Also, the green needs to get looked at. Looks too cartoonish, borderlandish vibes. Maybe a deeper green mixed in with skin features. Yeah, seems like a lot of people like it, and they maybe want it to be a little bit more on the rugged side, which I think I agree with. And I definitely like this recolor here. I think this was really good to see it this way. So I appreciate them taking the time to do that. That was good. But like with a lot of the races, we just got to see what's going on with the what the customization options are going to look like, because we can kind of get a a general idea of what looks good and whatnot. But all right, let's see here. Anybody in? Are they not here? What's going on? All right. Well, on that note, I am Zillin. What up, dog? Long time no chat, dude. How you been, man? Did you check out the live stream today? Or have you gone like Ashes silent? Doing all the SWOTOR content. I thought it was good. The I mean, kind of at the end of the show here, but my too long didn't watch is individually, I'd put it at maybe like a 6 or a 7 compared to what we've got in the last 3 months. I'd say it's like a 4 or 5. So it was a good reveal, but it was definitely a downbeat from what we've been receiving so far. So the biome looks awesome. The character models look cool. But there's no such thing as Ashes silent. I mean, there was like 4 years ago. I went silent on Ashes for like a year. I didn't look at anything. But nowadays, we're definitely getting some good information that we can like actually talk about. So it's been fun getting back into the content creator side of it. But I am going to rate you guys over to Gamer LC here. And Tonar now. That's never gonna die. That is literally never gonna die. That is the latest and greatest Ashes meme right there, Tonar. I'm going to raid you guys over to, if you're over on Twitch, I'm going to raid you guys over to Gamer LC. Looks like he's playing some Final Fantasy 14. But I appreciate you guys hanging out. Please head over to the YouTube. Make sure you subscribe over on the YouTube over there. I got some Ashes content that's already up over there if you haven't seen it already. My latest video talking about loyalty within Ashes of Creation. It's done pretty good. It's been very well received. So if you guys have already seen that, I appreciate you guys supporting me over there on YouTube. But I am going to be making YouTube kind of the primary source of my content, to include live streams as well. But wherever you want to watch me from, I will continue to stream both on YouTube and Twitch. I'm multi-streaming. So make sure you guys head over there, though, for all of the non-live stream content. And yeah, no, I mean, thank you again to the Golden Feather for raiding over, and everybody who decided to, hang out and hear what this bald bearded ginger had to say about it. And I appreciate you guys being here. So I hope you all have a fantastic night. Make sure you show Gamer LC some love, and we'll catch you guys later. Peace. Have fun at the raid. Spam the chicken emote.